All right. My goodness. Here we are this evening, joined together, Candice and I, for
Yes,
this inaugural episode of LaunchCrate Live from home. My gosh. Candice, how are you?
I am good. Just excited to be here, excited to talk about the book and just learn more for people to learn more about what's coming up. So yeah, I'm really good. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. This past couple of weeks has been a busy one for me. They've been
Yes,
super full, but very productive, which is good
that is.
because we are gearing up to launch some really cool stuff, just like what we're here to talk about tonight. So
Yes.
I am so excited for those who are joining us on the live stream and those who are watching the replay to learn more about you and to learn a little bit more about what you have prepared for them. So let's jump in. Are you ready?
Right on this. Let's go.
All right. So I know all about you
Yeah.
because we go back, like way back to when we were itty bitty kids. But
Yes.
our listeners and viewers may not know that much about you. So tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so my name is Candice McField. Basically from Kansas City, born and raised, went to school in Los Angeles, moved back, kind of had a different career path back then because I used to work in finance and then migrated to entrepreneurship. And so I've been an entrepreneur since 2009. Crazy, right? But it's been a fun journey. And I get to help people like yourself in the health and wellness arena. So I have a company called Candice McField Fitness, and basically I help people arise to their fit potential through online health coaching. And actually through the book is a sister brand called As For Me and My Body. And that whole premise is to basically for people to bridge their spiritual and physical health. And I think we're going to dive more deeper into that, but in a little 30-second commercial, that's a nutshell about me.
That's a good snapshot,
Good
but
snap.
there's so much more to you than that.
I know.
Oh man.
I
Okay.
left out a lot, but
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. We
I
might come
figured you
back to
would
some of
probe.
those things.
Yeah,
You know how I do.
right.
All
You're gonna
right.
probe. So fire away.
Absolutely. That's what we do. That's what we
Yeah.
do. We got to go deeper, right?
Yeah.
So I absolutely love the shift and the transition that you made. You said you were working in a different arena and then you pivoted. Tell me a little bit about that pivot before we talk
Wow.
about the book.
Yeah, so my undergrad degree is actually in economics, and so because of that, I actually obtained a job in finance after college, and did that for a number of years. I think maybe 6 or 7 or something like that. And I had an opportunity to go through the Kauffman Foundation program, the Urban Entrepreneurship program through the Kauffman Foundation, and
Mhm.
ended up writing the business plan for my first company. And so it just for me, it was just a perfect good timing and fit because back in 2004, I started competing in figure competitions. And so this is how I really like I got started in health and wellness, like 2004, 2005. And so as a figure competitor, what that means is it's a form of bodybuilding. And I grace the stage, like, and you're judged on your symmetry and your poise on stage and things like that. So I won my professional card in 2006 in my second show ever. And because of that, I was still working in finance, but people were always asking me, "Hey, Candice, what should I eat? What should I, do for strength training, things like that." So when I left finance, it was just a natural fit to go into health and wellness, and that's when I wrote the first business plan for my first company. And like I said, did that for 5 years with a business partner. Um, and now the rest is history as far as just focusing on Candice McField Fitness and all that I do now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. See, you can't just graze over something. Candy.
Details.
That's an important component, right? Because it's getting at the core of not just why you made that transition and how that transition took place, but it's getting at the core of your book as well, right?
It does get at the core. And so So for me, like the book merges two like passions, and so when I was in fitness, of course that's one passion, and then for people who know me personally, there's like they know the spiritual aspect to me as well, and so for me, like the opportunity to combine both those passions has always been something I wanted to do,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I didn't really know how to do it, and I think it's just something that comes over time. And now I have a book.
There we go. Let's talk about that book. Let's talk
Yeah.
about it. So it's called As for Me and My Body. And before I go too much further, those of you that are watching right now, if you have questions for Candice, put those in the comments so that we can chat with you as well. We can ask those on air and um, really give you the chance to get to know who Candice is as a human being, as an author, as an entrepreneur, as whatever comes to mind that you have in terms of questions for her. So, as for me and my body,
Yes, that's for me and my
yes,
body.
that's launching October 13th.
Yes.
So we are just under a month away.
Exciting times, busy
Yeah,
times.
definitely busy times. How are
Right.
you feeling about it?
Well, very, very excited. It's been a long time coming. So what people don't realize, it's funny because how long a project takes or how long something takes I think people see the end result and they're like, oh, you have a book. I'll never forget a quick story. I'll never forget when Alicia Keys put out her first CD. And it like sold like hotcakes. You couldn't find that CD anywhere. But that first intro song she had, she was like, yeah, it only like took me 17 years to get here. But for us on the outside, we're like, oh, Alicia Keys blew up overnight. But the
Right.
reality was she had been putting in time for 17 years doing all type of different training. So for me, like this book has been probably at least 12, 11 years in the making from the time like the idea kind of popped in my head and I took some notes down and everything like that. And then when you start writing a book, I remember I remember finishing like a what's called draft number one, thinking, oh yeah, this I'm done. And then you're like, you're nowhere near
Yep.
completion because you go through like your advisory board and committee and they rip it apart and you're like, oh man, I did
I
skip
thought
all
that was
that.
good.
And
I don't
then
know what just happened.
and like you work with your editor and then publishing you go from the Word document to the InDesign document or the actual book format document I should say.
Yeah.
um, so it's honestly been for me a journey of all this time that's taken literally like 11 years. Just I'm like everybody else, sometimes you just put things on the back burner and if you don't do it, it just falls to the wayside. So I think you have to make a conscious effort to like write.
Yeah.
And that's what I finally did maybe a few years ago when I completed that first draft. And then it was just like revision, revision, revision after that. So as for me and my body, it's
Here
here.
we are.
Here we are.
11 years in the making.
Yeah, something like that. Who's counting?
Certainly not me.
Right. It's
All
done.
right. So,
Better late than never, right?
right. Tell me about the inspiration for this. So it's 11 years in the making. What was that first spark? Tell me about that.
Wow. Honestly, I really wish I could remember that very first spark. I don't know what that was, but I do know that, when you have that thing in the back of your head or that feeling in your heart that just never goes away. And so for me, like I was speaking a little bit, like I kind of have two passions of one, the fitness side of me, which most people know, but then there's a spiritual side as well, that perhaps I'm more quiet about. But in my heart, in the back of my mind, I knew I always wanted to bridge the two some way, somehow. So there wasn't a spark, but I think it was like a little fire just kind of starting to burn and burn and burn. But the thing is, it never went away. So that was like
Right.
my cue, like, oh, okay, you got to do this because something never goes away. It means you're like, okay, you need to get this done.
Mm-hmm.
And do it. But honestly, again, like thinking about that question, the inspiration, for me, I love what I do, like as far as helping people, and I get to help people physically, but that physical transformation is not the bigger joy is like seeing people transform, not only physically, but that mental transformation, that emotional transformation. And so I've always like wanted to help guide people spiritually too. So now it's just a way to do that as well. And that just one, I think that's an inspiration, like the having the end goal of helping people transform their lives physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. So that's the
Yeah,
inspiration. It's really going to be you, the fans and the readers of the book.
absolutely. And I love that all of those areas are infused together,
Yeah.
because, you don't, we sometimes think about our life being segmented. But
Mm-hmm.
it's not really segmented like that. We can try to compartmentalize and put this part over here and work over here and rest of our what we consider life over here, but work
Right.
is part of life, right? So it's really
Right.
about finding balance between all of those areas. So
Yeah, and and that's the key word people always talk about is that work-life balance. And there's so many, like if you see in the corporate world, is presentations and how
mhm.
can you live that balanced life between work, family, home. But going back a step, like for me, like I think as far as health and wellness, like I have something called Candice McField University, which people will learn about in the book. And so to unlock optimal performance, you have to have four key areas, like all working together in unison. And so you have to have the strength training element or the exercise element. You have to have nutrition together. You have to have rest or understand how you can improve rest and things like that, which is often very overlooked. And then you also have to listen to your own body and understand your own genetics. And so when you have all those four components working together, that's how you begin to unlock optimal performance.
Yeah. I
It
feel
all
like
goes
you
hand
were
in hand.
talking to me directly when you said rest.
You,
Sheesh.
I
Was
was.
that for me?
That was my whip crack.
Thank you, Candice.
No, the thing
Throw
is,
me in the
like,
street and run me over.
it is, especially as, in our American society, it's a culture where we go, 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 run, run,
Yeah.
run. And oftentimes it's more valued to be like, I'm a go getter. I only sleep 3 hours a day, but you can have so much higher productivity if you just actually get proper rest and you
Yeah.
don't burn yourself out and just go stir crazy sometimes from being go, go, go. The
Yeah.
rest is important.
It is. I'm working on it.
All right, keep working on it. I'll keep checking in on you.
All right. I love that accountability. There we go. Talk to me about the writing process and the journey and what you learned either about yourself or even maybe digging a little bit deeper into health and wellness as you were writing this book.
What did I learn? I think the first thing I learned was what I kind of talked about before. Books don't write themselves, and so for me, it was like everything else in life. I had to schedule it, and it just for years it just didn't get done because it just sat there and sat there. And then I think another thing I learned was you're nowhere close to being done when you think you're done.
Mhm.
there's always there's always a way to improve what you've put together. And I think learning that having other eyes on it, like from all type of demographics, like the way I think is not how a uh, somebody 20 years older than me thinks or 10 years younger than me thinks or as a male. So having different eye sets of different demographics is something I learned is critically important, especially when putting a book together. uh,
Mhm.
well, knowing your target audience and knowing that I needed to, it's not just males and or females I'm trying to, target for this book particular. It's a wider range of an audience. So having that eyesight. And then for health and wellness, what I learned is that writing, like you have to keep things simple. And I think these principles that as adults we try to or we tend to make things very complex and very complicated, and I hope that people will find that in the book that we broke things down very simple so it can apply to your life right here and right now. You don't have to figure out, well, what does this terminology mean, or what is this, like, how do I apply this? But we're just, if you utilize basic health and wellness fundamentals and principles, then that's the foundation to having like that healthy lifestyle. So
Mm-hmm.
again, like thinking about the Candice McField University, like I have a saying, okay, you can give a person, well, that's not my saying, but we utilize this saying, give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day. But if you teach somebody how to fish, they'll eat for life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the same concept of when writing this book, like, okay, how can I give people basic health and wellness principles that they can now take for the rest of their life and turn it into a lifestyle. So healthy basic principles to turn it into a lifestyle.
Yeah, I love that.
Mhm.
And speaking from someone who has had the chance to see the book, clearly,
Of course.
it is definitely laid out in a way that is simple and easy for people to understand and easy for people to digest.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little
Oh,
bit about the way that the book is
yeah.
mapped?
Yeah, and so I'm glad you said that, because and that's what I wanted. Like, it's easy to digest. So how I wrote it was, it's actually a 21-day journey the reader will go through. And so each day is a chapter, right? So day 1 through day 21. And then from there, there's a spiritual section, like there's like an inspirational, motivational, spiritual section. So people kind of get a more in-depth insight into Candice through like just different stories or examples and things like that, right? So at the end of there, you have a spiritual challenge that you have to do. So like I'm giving you, okay, here's your things to do for this day, and here's your spiritual challenge for this day, right? But because as we just talked about, how the mind, body, soul is all connected. So then in day number 1, you're going to have a correlated physical section as well to go along with it. And then after the educational component of that physical section, like the health and wellness principles, I give you another challenge. But this time the challenge is a physical challenge to complete. And so for one day, you have the spiritual section, spiritual challenge, physical section, physical challenge. And then you do that process for 21 days.
21 days. Tell me why 21.
21, because in about 3 weeks, you have the chance to form a habit. And so
Mm-hmm.
everything that we're doing as far as health and wellness, and even in our lives, we can create habits which actually translates to behavior change. So all we're trying to do, or all I'm trying to do, is change behaviors. So I needed at least 21 days to help people successfully on their journey. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's the reason.
There we go. We're getting them
Create behavior,
started, right?
behavior change. What's that?
We're getting them started, right?
Yes.
So you're getting them started with the book, Candice McField Fitness, the course. What's the name of the course? I just lost
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So the course, so yeah, that's right. There's a e-course, an online course we developed that goes as a component to the book, and
Mm-hmm.
it's called That's for Me and My Body as well. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just an extension of the book, right? So the book will allow you to go through the 21 days, but then the online course is kind of a snapshot of the book, but it allows you to kind of have more details, like you complete quizzes and there's knowledge checks, but also I think the number one component is being able to work with 3 coaches. And so again, those components, mind, body, soul. So they'll have a coaching session with myself. They'll have a coaching session with a psychologist who has a doctorate in psychology,
Mm-hmm.
because again, everything kind of starts with the mind. So if we can change that mindset, this is how you start to change behaviors. And then because we're bridging the spiritual element with the physical element, we have a coaching session with a pastor.
I
So
love it.
yeah, that's the online course.
Love it, love it, love it. Okay. So you talked about this being a journey,
Hmm.
11 years in the making,
Yeah.
from where that fire started to burn to when you started to write. Talk to
Hmm.
me about what that scheduling time looked like as you started to carve out time to write this book.
Yeah. So I remember initially, like, so years ago, like maybe when I'm saying like 11 years ago or something like that, I actually, took a specific trip like to Atlanta to write. So I took like a however many days, 5-7 days, just to kind of do some writing. And then that's when I kind of mapped out the outline of the 21 days,
Hmm.
and put things together. But then there was a lot of years that just elapsed, just because of life and grad school, and it wasn't scheduled.
Right.
It wasn't scheduled after my trip. So so fast forward some years, I had some downtime, right, in business. And I said to myself, I was like, well, I need to do something with this time. So I might as well write. And that's what I did. And then I set a goal. I was like, okay, I want to get this done by whatever the date was back then. And I
Hmm.
just put, how I mark everything else in my calendar out for business. I started blocking out specific writing time. And then I think, once you like jump in that pool for anything in life, once you jump in, it's just like, okay, I couldn't stop, right? So it's just the hardest part was just starting, like sitting down to actually start. And then once you have a few days underneath your belt, it gets easier. And then it was a habit.
Yeah.
It was a habit, and I stuck to my schedule and my plan, and I really just was able to knock it out. Then probably that process was maybe 6 weeks or something like that,
Yeah.
maybe less, when I actually like
Hmm.
scheduled it in, and from start to finish, I got that first draft where I thought I'm ready to publish a book.
You got it. It's ready
Yeah,
to
no,
go. All
no.
right. Mr. Yahaya, how are you? Thank you so much for joining us for tonight's live stream. I love this question. Candice, what
Cool.
technology or apps do you use to keep organized? Or is it old school pen and pad? Or maybe it's a combination?
Yeah. Well, first of all, good evening, Abdul. And thanks for the question. So, what technology and apps do you use to keep organized? Or is it school pen and pad? Yeah, so I think it's a combination. I'm very old school pen and pad. Like, so every week. Well, first of all, let me step back. I have something called a things to do in life list, and so that's kind of the guiding force in my entire life. And I break that out. And work on that like every year, right? The whole things to do in life list. But on a weekly basis, I make a things to do list. Actually, it looks like this, right? And so I can kind of break it down, like all the different things I need to get done for the week. And as you can see, that's pen and paper. So for me,
Mhm.
like I'm very much I just want to write something down and be able to check it off. Like being able to check something off is important to me. But I do utilize technology as far as like whatever syncing from my iPad to my laptop and things like that.
Yeah,
Hmm.
good stuff. Okay. Love that question. That's fantastic. So we talked about how you found time to write. We talked about how you stay organized.
Yeah.
We've talked about what you learned when you were writing this book.
Hmm.
We've talked about the book and how it's mapped out.
Yes.
And we've kind of glazed over the title of the book. But
Yeah.
let's touch base on that for a moment. Tell
Yeah.
me
Let's.
about the title and what that means.
Yeah. So, as for me and my body is, I mean, number one is a play off the scripture. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord.
Hmm.
And then if you think about it, like being in health and wellness, I was like, okay, as for me and my body. So it's like, it's a strong call to action at the end of the day. Like I talked about, each day has these different challenges. And so at the end of the day, you're going to say to yourself, as for me and my body, like, what will you do? And
Hmm.
so as for me, my body is kind of like uh dot 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 or a blank, like fill in the blank. And then but if you look specifically at the logo, I know we can't see it on the screen here, but there's some elements I kind of took to bring in the congruent brand from Candice McField Fitness. It uses the
Hmm.
C from Candice McField Fitness. If you look at the A and as for me and my body, it makes a subtle cross on the right side of the A, and that's really to give all praise and glory to Him. And then it's written. If you look at the horizontal logo, it's written up at an angle. And so you think about like how we extend our hands in praise to Him, or gaze our eyes up to Him in prayer and praise. And so that was the very small details of the reasoning behind some of the logo choices. Um, But in a nutshell, like I said, it's truly just a call to action as for me and my body. And that's why I give you 21 challenges to do. Well, 21 days of challenges, but you have more than 21 challenges to do.
Yeah, I love it. Okay. So
Lisa's on. Hey,
we
Lisa.
talked a little bit broadly about this, but we didn't
Yeah.
hone in on you specifically. So Lisa,
Oh.
thank you for asking this question. Candice, what do you think are the greatest things that you learned about yourself through this book birthing process?
That's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's see what I learned about myself. I think it was just like the ability to, I mean, like I knew I had the ability to like stick to something and actually see it all the way through. And writing a book is one thing on my things to do in life list, which I just talked about. So I think it just further strengthened that characteristic about myself. Like uh, what my parents instilled into my brother and I growing up is that if we can we can do anything we put our minds to. And so when something's on your goal list for so long, you can kind of lose focus or like confidence in yourself. But I think going through this whole book process built that or increased that confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, I guess really, I know Lisa, you're a writer, but for me, I'm not a natural writer. And so what I learned about myself is that I can be a natural writer as if I really like focus and stick to it and just buckle down and do it. But
Yeah.
also just learning in the process that, that's why you have a team of people, right? You pick a great publisher, you pick a great advisory board. So hopefully at least I answered your question.
I think you did. Let's see
Okay.
if Lisa thinks you did. Okay, Candice. So you've mentioned this several times now during
Mhm.
this interview. And it's your things to do in life list.
Yeah.
What items did you focus on for 2020?
Wow. So actually it's right here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it is dealing with the book. So here, I'm gonna tell you specifically because so I have this notepad. I don't know. I just put out my like weekly stuff in here, and
Mm-hmm.
then I just like I printed out and I just wrote it down, right? And so I'm
Hold
just
on, show that again
there.
so they can see
Okay,
it.
there
There
we
you go.
go. All right, 2020 objectives. Who know me from college, like some of my best friends, they're gonna if they see this, they're gonna start laughing because they're gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, that's so camp." But no, it's funny because I always pick like a model for each year too. So my 2020 model was I persevered for such a time as this, right? So it's been a long time coming.
That's
Um,
perfect.
yeah, right. I persevered. I'm
Oh my
here.
gosh.
But no, but I kind of so on my things to do in life was what I didn't say was I break it down into 5 different areas. So there's the spiritual area, the relationship area, personal like relationships, and then like I have like the physical or adventure area and figure. Well, back then figure competition area, and then like intellectual. And then like kind of career wise, what do I want to achieve? So a few of those things on that list had to deal directly with the book. So like number one, for spiritually, I said lead others to Christ from all around the world. So hopefully the book is able to help people develop a relationship, a spiritual relationship, or a relationship, either start one or enhance one, right? And
Yeah.
then uh, secondly, it's for my section under like relationships or personal goals. I said publish a book, so that's been on it forever. Um, and then the third one, like the physical part of myself or adventure part of my characteristic of who I am at the core. It says travel to all 50 states, basically speaking engagements in unvisited states. But with COVID, of course, it's a different world that we live in versus when I actually wrote these goals in December of
Yeah.
last year.
So question, how many states have you been to so far?
Ooh, I don't know, Cindy. I really don't like, but it would be close to probably. I'm gonna estimate like 37,
Yeah.
somewhere,
So
give
not
or
that
take.
many left to go. All right.
No, not many.
Oh, you're almost done. I
Yeah,
mean,
right.
hey.
Yeah, Yeah.
There's less than 20 left.
Yeah. But I'll just share one last go. So under my intellectual category, I just always wanted to be like very versed in fitness, where I have speaking engagements on 6 continents. So that's still a dream of something I would like to achieve. And I know the world is different right now, but we'll return back to normal. And hopefully one day, we can have speaking engagements on different continents.
Are we counting Zoom or like in person? Because with
Well,
Zoom, you
yeah,
can probably touch all 7.
yeah. For now, we have to do Zoom or count Zoom. But one day, I have a passion for travel and I have a passion for international stuff. So I would love to go travel around the world, speaking to people and doing, what I love, just helping people enhance their health and wellness.
Yeah. Well,
Mm-hmm.
you'd be really dope at that.
Well, thank you.
Which continent gets left out?
Antarctica.
Aren't there people down there somewhere?
No,
They don't need health and wellness and spiritual wellness.
no.
Gonna leave them out.
Hey,
They might
not,
need it
not
more than all the rest of
too.
us.
No.
Down there in all that cold. My gosh.
Yeah, no, you can keep that one.
All right. Well, Candy, I have one more question for
Go
you.
for
But
it.
before we get to that question, I always like to do something creative, right?
Yeah, of
So
course. You
this is
playing a
what I
game?
do. We are absolutely playing a game.
Of course we are.
And it's going to be a fast one.
Okay.
Have you heard of this game, Oxgod?
No, music battle card game. No, I have
Yeah.
not.
Okay. So we're not actually going to battle. The way that you usually do this is that you pull a card and then 2 people will play a song that matches the category according to their thoughts and which one is the best fit. And
Okay.
so then people vote to see which one is the best fit. I'm not playing any songs
Okay.
because we'll have copyright infringement issues.
Yeah. True.
But I am curious to see where your mind goes in terms of the type of music that motivates you. I
Okay.
think that'll give us some insight into what drives you as a person.
Love it.
All right. So I have pulled, that's a good one. Oh, okay. We're going to learn a lot about you, Candice.
All right.
I have
A little scared.
This is when I'm glad that I'm asking the questions.
Oh boy.
Okay. So just tell me what song comes to mind, right? The first one is Let's Get It, a motivational song. What would be the most motivational song on your playlist?
On my playlist, well, the first song that came to my head was the Rocky, the Rocky, whatever theme song. Yeah, there you go. Go ahead and sing.
No, absolutely not.
You can hum. No, that song is in my playlist.
I love it. Was there a second one that came to mind?
Let's see. That I don't know the title, but it's a Cardi B song that came out like 2 years ago. Because I was doing a show in Australia and it came out. I don't know the name of it though. So sorry. I can look it up. But
okay. While you're looking that up,
I don't know. It's very popular. It has like that salsa Latin flavor to it. You don't know what I'm talking about? Okay. Nothing.
Not quite a Cardi B fan. I mean, nothing against her music. It just
I know
the music that I am listening to in my car is like still stuff from the 90s or the early 2000s. So I haven't quite made it up to Cardi B yet. I'm working my way there.
You're only 20 years.
Yeah, I'm only a little bit behind.
Well, I don't know the name of it. Oh, I like it. It's called Like It, right? I think it's called Like It by Cardi B.
We'll go with that.
Okay.
All right. Speaking of older decades, we're going to go back for this one. The decade of Jerry curls and boomboxes. What song from an 80s male R&B artist that could be a solo or group comes to mind first?
80s. So,
80s.
I'm more 90s. 80s.
80s male R&B. Solo or group?
Huh. Yeah, I'm drawing blanks here because I'm
Mm,
thinking
mm-mm.
like New Edition. I don't think that's 80s.
That is
That's
80s.
90s,
Yeah,
isn't it?
they started in the 80s.
Well, there we go. New Edition.
That was
I'm
when they
like,
had
that's
tiny
90s.
voices.
Huh?
That's when they had tiny voices. They were singing
Okay.
Candy Girl.
Okay. Yeah, there we go. And oh, I did not do that. Okay, let's stop.
It's just like me trying to hum the Rocky theme,
Right.
right?
God, this was being recorded. Like I was just
It's
by
just gonna
myself.
live forever on the internet. All
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Next one. We hate it, but secretly love it. Play a song with auto tune. What song with auto tune comes to mind?
With auto tune, like one
Hmm.
maybe, that's the wrong question for me. 'Cause I know a lot of songs are made with auto tune, but I don't
Uh-huh.
know like which songs are
I
made.
mean, like you could pick any T-Pain song.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, T-Pain. T-Pain,
You can
guys.
throw a whole album in there.
Really? Yeah,
I love it. See, I'm working my way up to Cardi B.
that's it.
All right. All right, we're gonna go back, but
Mhm.
only about 10 years. It's hard for me to believe that 2010 was 10 years ago. It doesn't
I
seem like it
know.
should be 10 years, but
Mhm.
here we go.
The
A
Return of Bone
song,
Checkers
mhm,
and
sung by
Retro
a male
Jordan.
rap artist.
Oh, Air Force Ones.
There you go.
Nelly.
Was that
Popping in my
2010?
huh?
That was before 2010, wasn't it?
Oh, was it?
I
Oh,
think so.
yeah, I was in college. Wait a minute now.
Candice, how do you listen to Cardi B and then think Air Force One was 2010? What are we doing?
You know, I said, I just know the I like it song because it has a salsa flavor.
I love it.
Yeah, I don't even know. 2010?
Yeah, I
I,
off the top of my head, I can't pick something from 2010.
yeah. You see, I took it all the way back to, I don't know, when was Nelly's Air Force One? 2002,
That might have been 2003, 4.
3, 4? Yeah. Well,
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
2010, I don't, yeah, uh, no clue.
All right. I think both of us need to do better on our music
Apparently,
selection. We got some growing to do.
right.
All right, one final question for you, and
Yeah.
we're getting back to the book for this one.
Okay.
What do you want people to know about As for Me and My Body, other than the fact that it's launching on October 13th? What's the one thing you want them to take away from this book?
The one thing. The one thing I guess would be transform your life.
Hmm.
And then I think we have a saying on the book, right? Transform to truly fit. So I guess the one thing would be that tagline on the book, stop dieting, which is very important. I talk about
Hmm.
that, like stop dieting, because there's all these fad diets out there. But if you stop dieting, if you live healthy, right? And that means lifestyle, then that's how you actually begin to transform to truly fit. And so that honestly is the one takeaway. And then also like just growing that closeness or improving yourself as well. Improving yourself again, it goes back to improving yourself mentally, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So that's the takeaways.
I love it. I love it. All right. Well,
Perfect.
you are going to join us again on the 29th of September. Is that correct?
That is correct. Two
Okay.
weeks from
And
today.
2 weeks from today,
Yeah.
same time,
Yep. Same
same
channel.
location. And we're going to dig a little bit deeper into one of the topics that you cover in
Okay.
your book, right?
Yep. We will. I'm looking
All
forward. It's
right.
gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be a
Absolutely.
lot of fun.
It's always a lot of fun when we get together.
I know, right? People only knew the fun
Yeah, you
times
know.
we've had since back in the day growing up
Yeah,
together.
we're just gonna pretend like
Right.
I love it. I love it. Okay. Well, I am looking forward to the 29th.
Yes.
And if you're watching this and you have questions, please, please, please drop those questions in the comments and we'll try to come back and answer those if we can. If
Yep.
you have questions about the book specifics, we might roll those into the next session that we have on the
Yeah,
29th.
that'd be great.
Sound good? All right. We got one more comment in
Oh,
here. Lisa said, great interview. I can't wait to read the book.
thank
And
you,
we
Lisa.
can't wait for you to read it
Yes,
also.
I know. I'm so excited for you to read it.
Awesome. All right, Candice, thanks for joining me for this.
All right. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon.
All right. Y'all have a good evening and go be great.
Yep. Bye.